Hello and welcome back to another episode of No Splinters. I'm joined once again by co-host Harvey LUFC Radcliffe. Harv, how are you going?
Yeah, good mate. Enjoyed my evening last night, and I hope you're all right. I hope you recovered from the weekend.
Yeah, recovered from the weekend. Saturday evening, it's a regular feature now, mate. You get used to it after a while. I feel like a Leeds fan back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, mate.
And obviously the cricket's been on this morning, so we're recording at the lunch break of the cricket, or it's called something like tea lunch or something, in it.
Well, it's brunch, afternoon brunch. I don't know. It's
Afternoon.
20 minutes and then they're back out. So I was texting you this morning saying they might as well just have a drink and get on with it and have a longer lunch, but don't work like that, does it?
Just keep playing cricket. Yeah, so we'll get stuck into it. We'll get stuck into it. We'll get stuck in. I think there's no other place to start than what happened. Well, what's happening or what happened on Merseyside at the weekend. It's another defeat for Liverpool. I think that's 6 games in a row at home that we've lost. I think it was a record of 100 or something games that Klopp hadn't lost at home or whatever. Something crazy. And then it's like waiting for a London bus, and it all comes at once. No win in 6. Another defeat, and at this time it's to Everton, who'd gone 22 years without a victory at Anfield. 24 games unbeaten Liverpool were, and a well-deserved performance. I think I don't really know where to start. I mean, I'll let you have the first word on what you thought. I mean, I know you've enjoyed it. Looking at your timeline on Twitter, it seems like I think you were an Everton fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I think the whole football world enjoyed it. Not because of Klopp. I think it's more the fans, the way that they carried on, and rightly so when they won the league. I think it's a very British mentality to make fun of people that have been successful, and then when they're on the way down, it is a good to watch. But I think I remember last podcast we did 2 weeks ago when I said if you beat Everton, your season's gone from a bad season to a moderate season. And losing to Everton was sort of rubbing salt in the wounds, considering they have beat you for 20 odd years and they have not been the best themselves. And to lose to Everton, I think it's an insult. But I just think that that Kabak, is it your new signing?
Yeah.
I just think that he was way out of his depth. I don't know why Klopp still insists on playing Henderson as a centre back when it's clear that he's your best midfielder, and you know, fight fire with fire and actually give your front three a bit of more service and a bit more stability. I think that front three is good enough on their day to match any team goal for goal. I don't know why he sort of tried to go for that defensive, with Henderson and Kabak. I just don't think it worked on the day. And then poor old, I know obviously we joke about injuries and, lots of teams have injuries, but Henderson getting injured, I was just sat there thinking, you couldn't write this. I mean, another injury, and it's beyond the pale of being funny now, because you could actually lose out of top 4, genuinely not make top 4 now. And I just can't think. Klopp must have kicked a black cat or something, because it's not just like a squad player injury. It's like your main players one after the other. And it's just rotten luck now. It's beyond funny.
I think Klopp said something like he went, not another one, or you've got to be kidding me. And it is. I mean, it's another centre half injury. I totally agree with your point. I don't think Jordan Henderson should be played at centre half. I think I'd rather have gone. We're going to play a weakened defence. I'd rather play Kabak and Ben Davies, or Kabak and Ben Phillips. And I think we missed so much of Jordan Henderson in midfield, both in a defensive and in an attacking sense. I think there's like a real lack of impetus and the switch from defense to offense. I think there's a real lack of momentum and sort of impetus that goes along with that. Jordan Henderson getting injured. I mean, you look at it now. I've just seen this morning it's 12 weeks. He might be missing the Euros.
It's terrible.
The fight to get
terrible
back.
Terrible ring on that.
Bad news. I mean, if he does make the Euros, he's going to be just before. So I think it's season-ending injury for Liverpool now. So it's towards sort of early June. They reckon he might come back. Whether Gareth Southgate picks him in the squad, we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's horrendous. Obviously, you look at it's no excuse either. To be honest with you, I'm not making an excuse.
There's plenty of teams with injuries.
There are, but I think it's an excuse that we don't win the league. I think, do you know what I mean? Man City are flying this year, and obviously with the injuries, I think if we'd have come second to a Man City side, I think you go, well, in fairness, good effort. Look at we've had Van Dijk, Gomez, Fabinho, Matip, Henderson, all these injuries. You can't compete, but we've still got a squad good enough to make top 4. I don't think you can argue about that. And obviously, what's happening is the dip. The dip's it's become past the dip, hasn't it? It's sort of it's a bit worrying, and I think there's got to be changes made. I look at it, and I mean, Thiago, is he a luxury player? Is he not? I mean, I don't think he's made for this system. I don't think he's made as that defensive midfielder that he's sort of trying to play the role. We really do, as we've said, miss a Henderson in midfield, and I think he'd be a lot stronger alongside that in a 2. But the front 3, mate. I mean, I've got no criticism for Mo Salah. I never will.
No,
he's just one of the best footballers I've seen play for Liverpool. But there's no denying that Sadio Mane and Bobby Firmino really are in the struggle. I mean, especially Firmino. I think Mane goes through a bit of dips and he misses a lot of chances. Yeah. And I've said before to you that I think Mane might be the one that I'd get rid of. But Bobby Firmino, I think we've got to have a number 9, mate. I look at if we want to stay at the top and compete in the world football. I mean, there's Haaland out there, there's Mbappe. I know these are serious money players, but you can't compare Bobby Firmino, who's probably he scored less goals than Patrick Bamford has this season, which we're going to come into. Well, I say this season, probably in the last 2 seasons.
I mean, just on your point with Firmino, you look at Giroud last night. I don't know if you saw his goal, but Giroud's been a consistent goal scorer at a top level for sort of 3 or 4 years. If you're not going to spend the big money in the summer, and Giroud, I don't know what Giroud's contract situation is like at Chelsea, but that would be a really good signing, in my opinion, because he would fit in that system, and I think he'd get you more goals. I think Firmino's a good player. Obviously the meteoric rise from coming sort of a mid-table German team to Liverpool and really sort of winning the title winning striker. But I think Mbappe and Haaland, I think given what Liverpool spent in January and I don't think the money's there, because we've said it before. I think your wage bill is so high that you need to shift a lot of players to sort of buy that sort of player. But I don't think Klopp needs a luxury player like that. I just think he needs a bit of luck in terms of injuries. And also, if you get a seasoned pro in there that might bag you sort of 15, 20 goals a season, I think that'll take a lot of the pressure off your front 3. In terms of Salah will always be a good player. I think the narrative of Salah is having a bad season is ridiculous, because his numbers are still right up there with top wingers in Europe. But I'd be interested to see what your strategy is moving forward, because you do obviously you're losing Wijnaldum. That's common knowledge that he's not going to sign another contract, I don't think. So there's another big wage off the books. If you get rid of Mane or Firmino's a big wage as well. And I think you're in that sort of 3-year cycle now, where similar to what Manchester United used to sort of be like, where they would have too many players on a high wage, and you need to sort of be realistic. I don't think you can afford Haaland or Mbappe, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Liverpool aren't a club in the sense of a Man City or a PSG or in Barcelona. They're skint now, aren't they? But do you know what I mean? In terms of a big spending club, they never have been. And I know we sell to spend. I mean, we always have done.
Yeah, you spent big, but you've also sold big.
Exactly. With net spend
assessment.
Net spend champions,
if you're not aware.
130 million or whatever it's been in Klopp's tenure. I mean, it's not a lot of money. And Liverpool have done it successfully. I've seen quite a bit on Twitter from James Pearce, who's the Athletic correspondent for Liverpool, who sort of said he was suggesting that Liverpool need to get a number 9 in to rotate with Bobby Firmino. And for me, you're not going to get a top class number 9 who wants to rotate. You need to get someone exactly who is your main man, who becomes you are our number 9. And is that Bobby Firmino's time's up? I think you have to say it is. He's never been that out and out goal scorer, but you look at when the likes of Mane aren't contributing, or if Salah's not on fire, there's too much heavy reliance from the wingmen, and he's missed so many chances throughout his career, but he has also come up with some important goals, and he's also created a lot. And there's that lack of footballing string pulling from Bobby Firmino, and it could be to do with a lot of things. Obviously, the midfield, as we say isn't as it wants to be, but there's definite worries. I mean, Liverpool, obviously, top 4 is the aim now, and whether they get it or not remains to be seen. But we're in the Champions League. We've got one foot in the Champions League quarter-final, and worse teams than Liverpool have won the Champions League. So there's no doubt that Liverpool can go on and win the Champions League. I mean, my pick was Chelsea, as we saw last night, going away to top of La Liga. I think anyone can win it. It's up for everyone, but Man City and Bayern are obviously the strong sides left.
Yeah, I think the English. I mean, we'll just touch on a little bit of the Champions. I know a bit all over the gaff with Premier League, but I think Chelsea, Tuchel, he's sort of given them a rocket, saying, we've got tough fixtures coming up. Don't look sort of rest on laurels. But I thought Chelsea looked comfortable last night against Atletico. I don't think they ever really landed the glove on them, and I think that. I'm not going to go back on history on Lampard, but there is a good squad there, and I think that Tuchel's got that. With that Hudson-Odoi on the weekend, sort of going back to sort of the 1-1 with Southampton, he brought him on, then took him off, and sort of slammed his attitude. And actually, people are saying, that's harsh. He's a young English player, but if you look at Hudson-Odoi, he's always been the nearly man in terms of the next big thing, and he never really got there. And this could just be what he needs. A manager that doesn't give a toss, has no relation to him, and has questioned his attitude. And you either sink or swim in that situation. And if he's the sort of player that's going to come out of it a better player, then I have no qualms about it. And then if not, well, on your way. There's plenty of suitors in Europe that he doesn't really need to deal with him. But he's got so many good midfield players at that Chelsea squad. I'll be amazed if they don't go far in the Champions League now. You've got Ziyech, who's got pedigree in the Champions League, almost won it with Ajax. You've got obviously Giroud that's coming up with goals. And I like the fact they played Kepa as well.
Yeah, good management.
Yeah, he brought him back in the fold because you can't leave. He's obviously somewhere deep down is a good keeper. I remember Dan sort of saying that he was never heard of him, but he's not done the basics right. If you can get him confident, then you take your pressure off Mendy a bit as well because. You've got two keepers in form. I just like what he's doing.
You've got a £75 million asset there, don't you? That needs to be utilised. And I think Tuchel. I mean, what's been impressing me about Tuchel, I think after match interviews, he's been really honest. He's been really upfront, and to be honest, I think he's been a breath of fresh air. The way he comes across compared to Lampard. I know we've had a bit of a dig at Frank, but we always said Lampard comes across poorly, and that doesn't translate to being a good manager. I know, but the way that someone deals with in front of the cameras, it's sort of the way that football is now. It's entertainment, and the opinion of fans matters. And I thought Tuchel's done a great job, especially on that front. And I know they drew with Southampton. Obviously, Liverpool had sent somebody over down to the south coast to sort of take some points off some rivals.
Yeah, he went missing on Tuesday night though.
But it was a decent start for Tuchel in his career. But I think we've got to touch upon, well, I laughed a couple of weeks ago. I said, no chance. I was having a go at you on WhatsApp, one eye.
Yeah, you were giving me all sorts, then I was deluded.
Patrick Bamford, I mean, Euros or Ballon d'Or winner, what's he going for?
I think Golden Boot in the Prem maybe is up there now. He's knocking on the door.
Does he go to the Euros?
Yeah, for me, if you've got Calvert-Lewin and Kane, he obviously likes that sort of striker that sort of runs the lines and links up play. I wouldn't say Bamford's a target man as such. I think he's just an out-and-out centre forward. I think his running, last night his running was unbelievable. Well, we lost a wicket.
We're 6 down.
Hell's teeth, we are 6 down. That's not good at all. So I don't know. I just think that Bamford, if you're looking for an informed goal scorer, Callum Wilson, you said, but I don't know what you're on about with him. He's not England class. I think Bamford's ceiling's higher in terms of his inform now. He's under good leadership. He plays the sort of striker that Southgate wants. My only worry is if Southgate picks Rashford as a striker instead of a winger, I don't think he gets in the team. I think if he picks Rashford as a left forward, then Bamford's got a chance. But let's be realistic. There's levels in football, and Bamford didn't score a goal. Scored one goal in the Premier League, and he's had to do it the hard way. Now, I'm going to admit I was a big critic of Bamford last season, mid-season, and the season before because he did miss chances. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm just saying it because he's informed. Your opinions can change on players, like you with Firmino. We used to love him, but now he's not fitting in. But the opposite's happened with Bamford. I just think Bamford's just getting better and better every week. His finish last night was unbelievable. Like, you couldn't have placed it better. It was unlucky against Wolves with VAR. One-on-one, a keeper sent absolutely blast it in. And he's ruthless now, and that's all credit to him. As a player.
I agree. I think you can't pigeonhole players and opinions. You know what I mean? You're right in the sense you talk about Firmino, but you look at Jordan Henderson. For me, I never thought he was sort of potential top quality midfielder, and I think he's one of the best midfielders in Europe in terms of for the role he plays now. And Bamford has. It's a different game, isn't it, the Premier League? I think you get a lot more time on the ball in terms of, I know that sounds silly, but it's a very more open, more expansive game that's the quality rises to the top. And I think you do get a lot more chances. I mean, the quality is harder, but Bamford, you can't knock what he's done. I mean, he's scoring goals. I mean, it's shocking for me. I think I'm very surprised he is scoring, but he's playing well week on week. And in terms of the Euros and the Rashford thing, for me, Rashford has to go as a left winger. He doesn't play on the right. He's shocking on the right generally, and up front he's not the same player. I think you've got to play players in their positions. I think for me, you've got Sterling, Grealish, and Rashford. Sterling can play on both flanks, and Grealish and Rashford are the two left wingers. Foden in the middle, and you take three top men. And I think one's Kane, I think one's Calvert-Lewin. And I think you're probably right now. Bamford's fighting it out, in my opinion, with Danny Ings, Callum Wilson himself. And if obviously it's not going to happen, but if Jamie Vardy was borrowed, I think we could get him out of retirement. I would go for that option.
I think Abraham's out the question as well now for me.
I think he has to be. I think you know what I mean. I agree. He's not playing regularly enough.
If you look at Bamford's record this season in the Prem, he's played 25 games, 13 goals. But the biggest stat for me is the 5 assists. I think when you're assisting as a striker, that's a really good sign for me. That means you're in the right position, you're making the right decisions. And if you look at sort of Kane to Son, that's, you know, Kane is the pinnacle of the best striker in England, but his assists are also what sets him apart. His he'll ping a long ball over the top to Son all day long, and I think that for me is why I said, you know, Bamford for England was when he got another assist. I said, yeah, he can score. We all know he can score off his left, but the assists are what, if you've got Rashford, if you've got Sancho running off you, or if you need a goal late on and Bamford can find the space to play the other players in, that's a really good option. I'm not saying he's going to start. Even if he doesn't get any minutes, I think it's still a better option for Southgate to have for England.
We'll wait and see. I mean, I think we'll probably end up doing a special on the old Euros because there's so much to talk about and it's so exciting. I think you look at the likes of the lads that are coming through. I mean, Foden and
hope Grealish is all right.
Yeah, Grealish, exactly. There's so many players. I think there's no doubt we need that Jordan Henderson in midfield to partner one of Phillips or Rice. But we'll wait and see.
As well.
Yeah, there's a few injuries, and I think a fully fit, fiery England have definitely got a chance of winning. But we'll move on to sort of round up the rest of the Premier League before we touch upon a few of the sports and boxing, cricket to finish off. West Ham, they're flying, mate, aren't they? I mean, a great win. David Moyes doesn't even need to be doing it off Zoom anymore.
He's I mean, Christ, I don't know what he was watching on his lockdown, but he's playing some good attacking football. I think Souček and Koufal have been amazing. I mean, we go about Rafinha saying they're a good signing. Souček and Koufal, what a bit of business. And I was listening, apparently when they signed Souček, they said, have you got any more, because they were so impressed with him, they said, have you got any more sort of players from that your team that are any good? He says, yeah, I've got my best mate Koufal, he'll do a job. And what a job he's done as well. I mean, he's brilliant. I love stories like that in football. But they've not looked out of place, and they're the real heartbeat. And then to sign Lingard on loan, which was like, what I mean, that was widely mocked. Like that was like a quote the modern term. That was a meme signing. I mean, they got absolutely rinsed for that. But I mean, he's absolutely unreal.
He's turned into bright Messi, hasn't he? I mean, I'm a big Lingard fan, mate. I enjoyed what he did for you. A lot of people give him flack because of his dances and stuff. But
he's a bit of a tip. But
you say that, but you look behind it, and obviously he's had family illnesses. I think he doesn't have a dad in terms of from a kid, and I think his mum's terminally ill and his grandma died and stuff, and he looks after all his siblings. I've seen some stories how he goes to all the parents' evening, and he basically is like the dad of the family, and he's done that. He's been a Premier League footballer, and I think he seems like from what I mean, I've never met the bloke, you know what I mean, but everyone, all the stories you hear, people say that he's one of the most genuine blokes in football, and I'm quite pleased. I know he's a United player, but I'm quite pleased that he's found his feet. He seems to be really happy. Him and Rice and that band, they had that nice little picture.
Yeah, that was good banter.
Which good banter, and it's good. It's nice to see a player sort of go to a different environment and thrive. And Lingard did that. His finish was sublime. Like genuinely, I thought it was a really good finish. Yeah, exactly. A player that shows you what confidence does, doesn't it? And I think we did ignore. I just want to touch upon the fact that Rafinha. I mean, you say about the signings at West Ham, and obviously you've done a good bit of business. Just got to say again, what a player he is. I don't want to go over too much, but yeah, mate, he's looking phenomenal. And if you guys can keep hold of him for another season, I think you'll do well. But he's going to be add some value.
He scored a lovely free kick and got man of the match last night. But I think Malik will be listening, so we'll have to speak about old Jose down at Spurs. His implosion job is in full swing. It won't be long till he falls out of another player. I mean, Spurs really need to have a hard think about what they're going to do. I was wanting Mourinho to do well just because I like him as a guy. He brings that aura about him. He's a good story. Obviously he's a good manager, but I mean they are in terrible form. They've lost to City, Everton, Chelsea, Brighton.
Even Liverpool beat him.
Yeah, West Ham. I mean, their only last two results are against RZ Pellet Whack and West Bromwich Albion. So,
yeah, they're definitely in trouble. I mean, I say in trouble. He's in trouble. Obviously, they're not going to get top four. Too much competition, and whether they're going to make the Europa League, I think they probably will make the Europa League their ideal. And it wouldn't surprise me if they went and won it. They've got a final in the League Cup. And Mourinho, if he brings a trophy to Spurs, you could say that that's mission completed because Spurs don't win much. But you look at it. I mean, City have won the league. I think there's no denying that. They're absolutely
10 points clear of Manchester in second.
Oh, I mean,
Leicester.
They're romping to it. They're on an incredible run. We've obviously done City before. And we'll probably touch upon them later in the season. But Arsenal obviously stuttered again. I mean, not surprising that they lost to City, but it looks like sort of things are taking shape. We can see that. I think we can see City are going to win the league. We can probably see that United and Leicester are going to get top four. I think Liverpool and Chelsea and West Ham are competing.
Scrapping it out. Yeah.
Scrapping it out. I think it'll be tight. It'll come down the wire. You'd imagine West Ham might fade, but who knows? Look at some sides have done it before. And the bottom three, mate, I mean, unless Newcastle don't find a result soon, I think the bottom three looks like it might be done. But
Fulham are staying up, mate. Fulham, I have full faith in Scott Parker now. I think he's got a tune out of Lookman. He's got some good midfielders. He signed that Josh Madger, who's from the famous Sunderland documentary.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, it's him. He's coming of age. He's the boy to man. He's 20 odd now, and he took his 2 goals well at Everton. But I think Fulham, they look like they've got something to hold on to now. Whereas you start losing, you know, Brighton and Newcastle are on the slide. I think Stevie Bruce is taking them down, mate. I think their 3-year stint of just scraping up on the last day of the season's over.
Yeah,
and they play Fulham last day, so
do they?
Could be tight. Yeah,
I think it's going to go to the wire, isn't it? When I say the bottom three's done, I mean the bottom two's done, isn't it? So we've probably got the top 4 spot up for grabs, and we've got the last relegation spot for grabs. I mean, you're right. I can't see Burnley getting brought into it. Southampton have obviously had a massive dip, but they're 8 points clear.
They've got too many good players to get dragged into.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're looking at Fulham, Newcastle, and Brighton. One of those 3. I think Brighton they play decent enough football, but they sort of lack a bit of spite.
They're a bit unlucky as well, actually. If you watch I watch them a fair bit just because I was taking interest in Ben White, and they always seem to get sort of unlucky. I mean, against Palace.
They are the unluckiest team. You know, the expected goals, I think they're supposed to be like 9th or something. They do seem, I mean, maybe it's a style of football. You know how Norwich played nice football and Brighton do play good stuff. I hope Newcastle go, to be honest with you. I do quite like the way that Fulham play. I think they've got a bit of grit about them. And
they've got a lot of money behind them as well.
Yeah, and have you seen the stadiums going to have a pool and stuff? It looks like a good club. I mean, I know Newcastle's a massive club, but it's sort of Mike Ashley. It'd be great to see him go down and
I just think that Mike Ashley's he's just going to sit on that asset now. I think he was the reason why I want them to go down is because he'll probably sell. And I know obviously Newcastle will come straight back up like they did last time. They've got a record point total in the Championship. They're too good for the Championship. But Mike Ashley's business model is literally spend as little as possible, try and stay set. If they finish 17th every season, they'd be happy. But I just think that's a detriment to the league as a whole, because you've got a club like Newcastle, which is massive, 50,000 a game, you know, loyal fans, and he's happy with 17th every year. I just don't think that offers anything to the league.
I agree, mate. I don't disagree. I mean, I think we've rounded up the Premier League very nicely there. So, I mean, as a Leeds fan, we're going to move on to my second sport, probably my first sport to be honest with you. But the boxing's been class
recently. Depends
how
Liverpool are doing.
The boxing's been class recently. But 2 weeks ago,
Jesus.
What are we down to now?
Just lost his off stump.
93 for 7 to all the fans listening out there. This isn't a live watch along, but we are recording as the cricket is on, so it's not going particularly well. We might finish on the cricket then, but a bit of boxing. Josh Warrington obviously fought against Mauricio Lara 2 weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago, in what was a couple of cracking cards. I mean, really enjoyed them. But it was a cracking fight. But I mean, I know you want to touch upon sort of there was some dodgy scoring earlier in the night in the British Boxing Board of Control, who I am not a fan of in the slightest.
No.
They've got a lot of flack, and Howard Foster, I believe, was the referee when Josh Warrington was badly put down in the 4th round and looked in a really bad state and just about managed to get through the round. And I know you've got some thoughts. You're a bit worried as a Leeds fan.
Well, I mean, not as a Leeds fan, as a Josh Warrington fan as a whole, I think I really sort of got behind him, and obviously given me one of my best memories of watching boxing with beating Lee Selby at Ellen Road. I just think, that for me is a special memory, and obviously selling out Leeds Arena, and just a good story for the community. But I think that you saw the pitfalls of having a really close corner in terms of his dad. I think Warrington, I texted you before the fight, didn't I? I said, I'm worried about this. I don't like how he's gone about his camp. I don't like his attitude to the fight. I said, and I tweeted out, this is a banana skin. I know it's pointing a blinking obvious, but he was 66-1, this fella, to win. Warrington was 1-33 on. Like, all the odds were in his favour. I was the only one saying, I don't like the look of this fight, because he's been out the ring for 18 months. He's had a lot of stuff going on in his life. He's got a lot of money now. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying he's changed it, but money changes your whole situation. He's come from nothing.
You're not as hungry for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying he wasn't hungry. You can't question Warrington's attitude, but I just had a feeling that it was like the Joshua Ruiz fight, where it's one step where you're fighting really. He's always been the underdog, Warrington, and he's always been written off. And he was really like the nailed on. He's like, this is a training fight. I want to go fight in Vegas. Whereas I'm like, hang on a minute. You haven't fought for 18 months, just simmer down. Like, obviously backs himself, but he got caught in the second really hard, and his feet went from the second round. He was flat-footed. He was not boxing his normal game where he comes out like a tornado. And I think because he got clouted early on, and he felt the power of this fella's punch. And then, at the time, I'm thinking, buzzing that he didn't get waved off. But as the fight went on, I couldn't watch it. Like, it was just hard to watch, because given all the science now in boxing, that was a beating. That was a hammering. That was not a good thing for a fighter, for any boxing fan to watch.
Mate, it got brutal.
It was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to watch.
It got brutal. I mean, I was sat watching it in the living room. We were all like, Jesus, how's he got it out of the 4th round? I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? You're right. With his dad being in his corner, it's hard to take emotion.
And the working class family, they're not quitters. They don't have anything handed to them, and they'll fight to the very end. And fair play, it's worked for them. But there comes a point, exactly. Fight safety.
There's that attitude in there in boxing, and whether it's right or wrong isn't really for me or you to sort of say in terms of you fight till you die. People don't want to quit. I mean, some fighters say never throw in the towel. I'd rather die in the ring, and it's a difficult one, because obviously if he had been stopped in the 4th round, I mean, my personal opinion is if you'd switch the roles, if the roles were reversed, would Lara have been waved off? There's nothing so certain.
Yeah, wouldn't have been a question there.
No, it would have been waved off. And I think the referee's got to look at it, and they've got to take the subjective. I mean, he wasn't technically a world title holder. Josh Warrington, obviously, he vacated beforehand, but he was the A side, let's say, and he was the man. And it is difficult, because obviously, if it got waved off, there would have been people that had gone. It was the same referee who waved off George Groves in the Carl Froch fight, Howard Foster, and there would have been people saying it was too early. But you sort of save them for another day, save them for a beating, and in the end, Josh Warrington, the damage that would have gone between rounds 4 and 8, who knows? Who knows the effect it could have had?
5 or 6 years on his career, like
exactly. Lara, he had heavy hitting hands, and it was a big statement. I mean, you look at this weekend to compare this weekend of boxing. I mean, don't know who's watched it, but there's obviously the Marku versus Charlton fight where the Charlton's great. It was a great card of boxing from top to tail. I mean, other than the Johnny Phillips, which was obviously just a first round knockout, but Ryland Charlton's corner threw in the towel after he was sustaining a little bit of a beating. They realised he couldn't win the fight. He had a great chin and he refused to go down. And his corner saved him. They thought, he doesn't need. He's showed enough in this fight to get through. And then obviously in the main event, Josh Kelly versus David Avanesian. Same thing then. Adam Booth, who's one of the most famous trainers in this country, changed the likes of George Groves and David Hay. He obviously threw in the towel because he realised Josh Kelly was getting a beating. Now you can have your opinion on Josh Kelly and how they organised for that fight, because in my opinion, it was a shocking game plan from themselves.
We both backed against him, didn't we? We both had the other lad winning.
Yeah, I had Avanesian. I thought he'd be. I thought exactly what happened. I thought he'd win on points, but I thought he'd just outclass him because he's got that experience. And Josh Kelly's a little bit too flashy for me, and he clearly doesn't have the tank. But he threw in the towel and he saved him from the day. There's no doubt Josh Kelly can come back. I mean, famously David Hay lost to Carl Thompson, I think it was, and then he came back and he won against McCormack.
Yeah.
He obviously went up from Fort Value and he had a
brilliant career.
Glittering career, and he did lose a fight early doors, and there's no doubt that could happen for Josh Kelly, but he saved his fight for another day. And I think that it's an underrated usage. The corner have to take subjectivity out of it, and Josh's team, it's his family, it's hard, but hopefully he'll come back. I know you don't want to see him against Lara immediately, but he needs that crowd, mate. I think he needs that crowd. It's a big thing.
It looked flat.
He sells his career in a nice way. Obviously, he's achieved what he's achieved, but he is a Leeds fighter. He's one of the very few fighters who uses the fan base and a city as his support. He comes out to Match On Together. It's all about Leeds. And Warrington really did miss the crowd for Leeds. And I think put him in at Headingley with the determination, all the Leeds fans or whatever it might be. I think you might see a different Josh Warrington.
Yeah, I don't think his career is over as such. I'm just more concerned about him as a fighter, as in like, I don't want to see him take a beating like that again, because, I think he's got a lot to offer in terms of punditry. He does great work for the Leeds community. He has a boxing gym. He keeps kids off. Like most boxers, actually, to be fair, boxing does that really well. They are very community orientated, because they all sort of come, not all of them, but a lot of them, like Joshua, for example, came off the street, does amazing work for his community. And
you see the Joshua and Josh Warrington chat they had, but obviously he gave him some advice, and that just shows you obviously didn't see Tyson Fury, your mate Tyson Fury, in the phone to Josh Warrington.
Well, he tweeted him out and gave him a video, and he actually made an excuse for Warrington, saying that COVID ruined his career, which
exactly inactivity, which is Fury's little. I think that's his little excuse for when that fight gets made, which is apparently about to get dropped very soon. That it's been agreed. So I mean, hopefully with the positive news we've had with the crowds and stuff and traveling, hopefully, that's going to get on soon, and we can get the biggest fight in boxing.
I noticed White Povetkin 2 has been announced in Gibraltar. Which is a strange old place to have a fight. But
the reason is because Dillian White trains in Portugal, so he does it. He's doing his training camp. He doesn't want to leave Portugal. That's where it's been. And basically, if he had to come back and quarantine in one of those hotels, like the government hotels. Yeah. So they said he wasn't allowed to train in his own. Quarantine his own place for 2 weeks. The government said he had to stay in one of their hotels, and he said, "Well, I can't do this in preparation for a fight." Yeah. So Eddie Hearn obviously worked his magic, and they've moved it over to Gibraltar in order to be able to avoid that, and he can literally just come in from his training camp.
Tax-free as well for old Eddie. His old man will be proud of that one.
He will be indeed. I think you've just popped out of my headphones, but no, I mean, just to round up, then obviously we've touched upon the boxing and football. I mean, as we speak, the cricket now we're 97 for 7. Folks and Leach are in. Bit of a stinker. I mean, we were going to touch upon it, but it seems like we're going to get absolutely battered in the third test. And
I don't really want to talk about it. And well, I mean, Cookie's positive as ever said you can't judge a pitch till 2 people are battered on it. But I have a horrible feeling that India will make it look like a road.
I think it'll be all right. I mean, the second test, you were correct. Obviously, it was an absolute Bunsen, and
Yeah,
didn't go to plan. But we'll have to wait and see for this test. Who knows? I mean, Jimmy Anderson, they might get him under lights tonight and nick off.
Well, I think that might be our sneaky plan to sort of get them under lights today, and while the pitch is still is still relatively.
Mate, they're probably all bored of this quarantine, aren't they? They're all fucking coming home, going here, there, and everywhere. So
yeah, you raise a good point. Bairstow, none off 9 balls. Like he's been sat in a hotel for 2 weeks and he's come straight in. I get what they're trying to do with the old quarantine, but it's going to bite you in the ass because you play in India. It's not like you're playing a secondary team like India at home, and it's probably as tough as playing in the Ashes.
It's tougher, in my opinion, India away. I mean, I think it's obviously the way that we play cricket is alien to us. I mean, Australia is alien in the sense it's hard and fast, but it's bat and ball, one spinner. The lineups will be very much the same. Whereas you look at India, I mean, we're only playing one spinner this test, which is a surprise. Don't get me wrong, but
it says a lot about Don Best, doesn't it?
It does say a lot about Don Best, but yeah, obviously it's not going to plan. So we'll wait and see that. And obviously it's Six Nations again this weekend after a fallow week. We've got England against Wales, a must-win game. And obviously the Scots had lost to Wales in a game that I predicted the Scotland would dominate, which they would have done without the red card. But
yeah, I think the red card's harsh as well, to be honest.
I mean, I think that's the way rugby's going. I think there should be maybe some orange card or something that the team he maybe does get a red card, but the team doesn't lose the player. Like it stays at 15 because it sort of
like in the NFL, if you have a high hit, they eject you, so you lose the player. He can't come back on, but it doesn't affect the team as such. But obviously, if it's your star defender, then it's going to affect the team. But an ejection's a much better way of doing it. Or in ice hockey, you get a sim. Well, obviously there's sin bin in rugby, but you can get ejected in ice hockey, but you don't lose your team.
Yeah, I think that they should be able to keep the same number of players on the pitch. I think it affects the game too much. I mean, there's a difference in there between someone who does it accidentally versus intent. I understand that, you know what I mean? I mean, we remember Shuddy Bill Williams on Anthony Watson in the Lions tour. There was an intent to injure his face, or there's difference. You deserve to go down to
that was in a ruck one, he just smashed in, didn't he?
Came on the outside. But obviously France, DuPont's got COVID, so they might not be on. Who knows?
France are in bother, by the way. They've lost their management and then 6 players. So I think this tournament could be all over the gaff now, because once COVID gets in your camp, that's very hard to get rid of. You've seen it with football.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. So we'll wait and see. But obviously, it's another good weekend of sport. Canelo's on against Yildirim. Not much UK boxing for a couple of weeks now. But we'll be back. We'll be back soon. I mean, who've Leeds got this weekend, Av?
We've got a ding dong, Aston Villa at 5 on Sky.
No Jackie Grealish.
No Jack Grealish, but no Phillips, I don't think, or Rodrigo. I'm not going to. We've got a lot of injuries, put it that way. But it'll be a game.
We'll just have to have a look at the Leeds fantasy football team to know who's not playing. So that'll be it.
Yeah, that was class from Villa, wasn't it? They all transferred Jack Grealish out, which sent a stat alert to all the fantasy players saying he's the most transferred player out and he's the most informed. So, I mean, that is funny because Dean Smith's having none of it now. He's banned the players from it. It's a bit of a spoil sport, really.
I like Dean Smith, though. Good manager. Hopefully, Villa. Yeah. Hopefully, it'll be a good game. But yeah, all right. Well, thanks for listening. Obviously, check us out on the old social channels. Go on.
There's 2 people handing back the titles this year. It's Prince Harry and Jurgen Klopp.
Not bad. Seems like Philip's making it through, though. Maybe you should send them some CBD, see if it cures him.
Well, he's on summit, mate. He's a specimen, his old Philip.
He is. All right, well, we'll love you and leave you.
Yeah, and Tiger Woods, get well soon. All the best, God bless.